Minister, colleagues, members of the media, wider viewing and listening public of Trinidad and Tobago. As you are aware, we've been managing our borders since the 23rd of March of this year, when we closed off our borders to all nationals and non-nationals. You'd have seen us allowing the entrance of groups of persons, nationals, back into Trinidad and Tobago in a manner that allowed us to feed them into our public health system. Just to start off, we are very sympathetic and we have a lot of empathy for all of our nationals who are outside of Trinidad and Tobago. Believe me, we are getting thousands of requests, and I understand the difficulty. We as a government understand the difficulty that each family is facing as they try to get their family member who is outside back in. The things that govern the management of who and how we allow things back in are quite simple. It comes down to numbers and our public health system and what our public health system can control. There are two sides of it. The state quarantine is the policy that we've decided on based on the advice of our public health officials. It's been accepted by us at Cabinet that everyone coming back into Trinidad and Tobago will be put into state quarantine facilities. There's a little bit of leeway that we're now trying to develop, that you may be under state supervision outside of a state quarantine facility, but that is only a limited number. There are two concepts that govern this. One is, God forbid that we suddenly have a surge or a spike and persons come back, there's a reimportation in a group or in groups, and there is a takeoff of positive cases. We have to make sure that the COVID public health care system can manage it. Our hospital beds can manage it, so we're always mindful of that. And then even on the state quarantine, there are a limited number of spaces, but as we start to look at increasing those spaces to allow certain persons to pay, and I'll get into that in a short while, we still require the public health officers to do the supervision. So I'm going to take you through what we're facing in the next 7 days. In the next 7 days, we expect to be dealing with somewhere between 600 to 1,000 persons returning to Trinidad and Tobago. You all would recall recently we had the cruise ship workers. So far, we've taken in 87 cruise ship workers. We had 6 initially, 52, and then 29 a few days ago. All of them are currently in state quarantine facilities. There's another set, 19 to come. We have still, you would recall, almost a month ago, we granted approval to persons in Venezuela and Guyana. They're still making their way back. We expect this week 30 from Guyana, 10 to 12 from Guyana, 30 from Venezuela. We have what I think is another success story, and I'd like to thank the Prime Minister for the ability for us to do this. There was a gentleman, a national of ours, an elderly national, who went out to St. Lucia. He was invited by a friend to travel. He is visually impaired, and he has underlying health issues. He got stuck outside of there, and we've been looking for an opportunity to assist him coming back in because he doesn't have the means. We had 5 workers who were in Nevis, and their employer wanted to fly them back. We have managed successfully to negotiate for the owner of that company, the employer of the 5 workers, to send the plane to St. Lucia to pick up this visually impaired gentleman, bring him back, pick up the 5 workers, and to make their way back on Wednesday of this week. We expect that. The employer has gone further and will be one of our first test cases. His 5 workers will be put up in a facility where they will pay for it, one of our hotels, and the state supervision will take place. We have rig workers. We have 98 rig workers who are out on a rig at sea, and we've agreed to allow them to come back, and they will be allowing the facility of them quarantining on the rig. But again, even whilst on the rig, no one will be allowed to interact with them, save for our public health officials who will do the state supervision quarantine. So that's 98 there. Yesterday, we successfully completed discussions with Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, and we expect between 326 to 360 Royal Caribbean workers who are nationals, Trinidad and Tobago nationals, to return on Friday coming. We have managed to negotiate that the Royal Caribbean, right now they're being put onto a ship in Barbados from all different ships. We've had some nationals come from as far as Europe, and Royal Caribbean will put them all onto one vessel, sail into our waters. The quarantine period will start on Friday. Once they arrive here, The Ministry of Health is preparing teams of doctors to test everyone who arrives on Friday, and then they will be quarantined on the ship. We expect all of them to stay in their cabins. The company has agreed that each cabin will have its own bathroom facility, so there's no need for interaction, so we can manage the state quarantine. Even in that system, our doctors will be on a daily basis monitoring these 326 to 360 workers. So you can understand the capacity issues. So even though they're not on state quarantine facilities, we are still required through our Ministry of Health personnel to continue quarantining them. So that's 326 to 360 we expect to arrive on Friday. We are finally getting to the point where we will finalize the numbers for the return of our students from UWI, Jamaica, Mona, and Barbados, Cave Hill. I have been in constant contact with the principals from Cave Hill and Mona, and they've been helping us to work out the numbers. Right now, we expect 85 of our nationals from Barbados to return, and last weekend it was 567 Trinidad and Tobago nationals. Today it seems to be around 127. So you see the disparity and how persons are changing their mind as we get closer. We are aiming to do that exercise next week, Saturday, so June 13th. So you have 360 possibly on Friday, and then it could be up to over 300 to 400 on the Saturday. And what we're doing is we're preparing to quarantine them at the St. Augustine campus. So right now, the Ministry of Health personnel are working with the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force to get there prepared. The reason for this timing is the students wanted to complete their examinations, and there's some still in examinations. So we have to get St. Augustine campus ready to receive them. It'll become a state quarantine facility, and ensure they have access to internet and these types of things as they do their online examinations. We have also been allowing some of our nationals who are working on ships, service ships in the oil and gas industry, as well as some rigs, to be disembarking and to be coming back to Trinidad and Tobago over the period of time, because some of them have been out to sea for over 150 days. So when we liaise with the Ministry of Health personnel, we're able to work out various protocols. We are aware that we have nationals in Mexico, for example, another set of workers who are in the oil industry, over 35 to 40, and another 40, so somewhere around 70 there. We have persons in the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, the Middle East, Australia, Bangladesh, and India. All of these places that we are working on being able to bring home. As we've said repeatedly, all of our nationals will come home. But as I've at pains to try and explain, we have to manage the numbers, because right now the best way of us containing any re-importation of the virus into Trinidad and Tobago, because it is possible and we suspect it will happen, is to ensure that everyone that returns we have under state supervision and state quarantine facilities. There's one other thing I saw starting to recirculate today, an announcement by the President of the United States all the way back at the beginning of April about if countries don't take back their nationals, there'll be sanctions with passports. That was a very specific presidential executive order, thank you, Prime Minister, and it is dealing with deportees. So persons, of course, are trying to spin that today to say that if we don't take back our nationals who are in the United States, that we will be sanctioned with our visas. That is not so. That is specific to the deportees. I can say here that in Ministry of National Security, we have been in touch with the United States authorities, and we are working out with them. They intend to deport 25 Trinidad and Tobago nationals sometime in this month of June, and we're working towards that. Right now, Ministry of National Security, along with Ministry of Health, are preparing a specific facility in addition to what we have at Santa Rosa to be able to receive these deportees. So in the immediate, those are the numbers of persons that we expect to come back within the next week. And I am working with the Ministry of Health based on the capacity that the Ministry of Health has to bring our nationals back after consultation and giving the advice to the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Health. We will manage everyone back. We just need to get through these two big categories that are going to take us up to over 1,000 at a given point in time. And whilst we're doing that, we will be contacting the various nationals we have all over the globe to try and work out the numbers and how we bring you back to be able to manage you in our state quarantine facilities, and if we can, in supervised facilities being supervised by the Ministry of Health. Thank you very much, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Minister Young. Let me just